welcome to the Hobby Homestead. This video is going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be farm related, just kind of life related. So a few months ago I said when I first got this car that I was going to give you guys like a tour of it and, you know, kind of give my little review on it. Well, I've had it since October, and since last October, so I've had it a year now, and I'm gonna give a review. Just a pre-warning, there's gonna be a lot of shit talking here, to put it frankly, because I am not happy with this car, and I am gonna tell you exactly why and what's happened, because it's just unbelievable. Anyways, let's start the shit show. First of all, so I got the car last October, and I was really happy with it. And the reason that I chose the Bronco Sport was because I wanted something that was all-wheel drive. I wanted something that was fun and sporty and safe and big enough to haul my crap. And you know, that's why I chose it. It wasn't a fad thing, because I know Broncos are kind of a fad thing, or the new Jeep. I do like the looks of it. You know, but like for once I just didn't want like the mom SUV. I wanted like something cool and made me feel cool. And at first, it honestly did that for me. I was very happy with the car. It was very fun. You know, full disclosure, I paid 55 big G's for it. Was it worth that? No. You know, and at the time I was like, well, you know, it's a Bronco and it's cool and whatever, and the old Broncos used to be cool, and you know, that kind of justifies the price. And newsflash, it still doesn't justify the price. Okay, so I traded in my old Mitsubishi RVR, and they gave me 10 grand for it. And so I traded in at our dealer locally to us, which is Hunter Ford of Madoc. And so speaking of that, another reason that I'm making this video is because another channel, YouTube channel called Raspberry Rock, he's like, you gotta tell your story, you gotta tell him what happened, because he had some troubles at Hunter Ford. And if you know who he is, you probably heard all the stories, but he's like, you gotta tell your story. And honestly, I hate talking shit, and I hate you know, like making like public service announcements about businesses and stuff, because like I'm all about like support locally and all that shit. And so I really don't feel good making this video, so bear with me. I traded in my Mitsubishi RVR to Hunter Ford. I was a bit pissed off about the trade-in value, but what can you do? It is what it is, and I'm not gonna really rant about that. But what I am gonna rant about is the fact that after I traded it in and got this and brought it home, I noticed that a lot of money was coming out of my bank account, and I was like, what's going on here, right? So, you know, I look into it, and the payments for the RVR were coming out, plus the payments for the Bronco. So I phoned Hunter Ford, and I was like, hey, you got to pay off the rest of the loan on the RVR, like, you know, because now you own that car, right? And they're like, yep, we'll sort it out. So a couple weeks pass, and another payment comes out for the RVR. And so then I phone them, and I'm like, hey, this really needs to be sorted out, because I really can't afford to be paying for a car that I don't even possess anymore, right? They're like, yep, we'll sort it out. So then another couple weeks go by, and another payment comes out. So then I phone them, right pissed, as I should be. And you know, they're like, no, we'll deal with this. And so then I phoned OMVIC, which is the Ontario Motor Vehicle. I'll put it up here. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I'll put it up here. So I phoned them, and they're the people that oversee dealerships in Ontario and make sure that they're doing legit stuff. So I phoned them, and they're like, wow, that should not be happening. And they're like, you know, send us, you know, all your paperwork, your bill of sale, and all this stuff. So I did. And then a week after that, another payment comes out for my Mitsubishi RVR. And so then I phoned the Ford dealership, and I said, this needs to be sorted out. I've spoken to OMVIC, and they will be likely contacting you soon, because this is not okay that you're doing this, right? And in this time period, I noticed that they put my old Mitsubishi on their lot to sell. And mind you, for about 3 times the price that they gave me it for. And so then I was like, wait, how can it be up for sale when I still technically own it? And I took the insurance off of it because it's not in my possession anymore, and I thought that the dealership bought it. So I phoned the lien holder that the loan was under for the Mitsubishi, and I'm like, hey, what do I do, right? Because the payments are still coming out of my account, but they have it on their lot and it's up for sale. And they're like, no, like you can't be doing that, because like it needs to have insurance on it. And you know, like the ownership needs to be switched over to the dealership, and they were quite pissed off. So I phoned OMVIC back, and I was like, you know, hey, this is what the lien holder's saying about the Mitsubishi. And they were like, you know, like, yeah, they're right about that. So, you know, this back and forth goes on, and it was about 2.5 months of payments where Ford finally paid for the Mitsubishi. And I had sent OMVIC pictures of that car on their lot saying it was for sale and on their website, and shortly after that the car disappeared. I'm sure they shuttled it off to an auction or something, because they knew that there was some heat on it, because you know, they knew that they fucked up. And so that was what happened with the car that I traded in. So then you know, I'm trying to enjoy my new car, and everything seems to be going great. And so the first sign that something was really wrong was I was driving down the main road to get out of here onto the main highway there. And I was driving along, and all of a sudden I realized that the car had put itself into neutral. I was doing like 80, and I realized that when I pushed the gas, nothing was happening. And I looked down, and it just put itself in neutral, and I was like, oh, that's weird. So then I put it back in drive, and, you know, just thought maybe I brushed it with my hand or my purse or something like that, even though I know I didn't, but I was just trying to convince myself otherwise. And so then a couple days later, we were heading off to the school bus races, which is about an hour and a half away from here. And you know, we're driving along, and so one thing that the Bronco has is an auto shut-off feature, where if you're sitting at a red light or a stop sign, it'll shut off, you know, to like conserve fuel. I mean, is it really conserving fuel? It's probably just burning out starters, but anyways. So we come up to this intersection and heading there, and you know, it's dark because we're leaving in the evening, right? And the car shuts off because I was sitting there because the light was red. And then, you know, I took my foot off the brake and went to go, and nothing happened. And there's a long line of cars behind me, and I'm in this busy ass intersection, and people are honking their horns and freaking the hell out, and I'm trying to start the car because of course it's got a wonderful push start, which I fucking hate. And so I'm trying to get it started, it won't start, and you know, there was like 100 lights on the dash, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? And this was when I realized that nothing was working. There were no brake lights. My four-ways weren't working. So nobody approaching me had any warning that I was a sitting duck in that intersection. And so that was absolutely terrifying. We're lucky that we weren't killed. So a couple days later, Dave takes one of our dogs to the groomers in town here in Madoc. And he just backs into, like, parallel parks into the intersection. Or, not into the intersection, into the spot. And the car just shut off. And thankfully he was, like, mostly off the road. And he was trying to get started again, it wouldn't start. So he phones Hunter Ford and, you know, and he's like, what the hell, right? And, so they ended up taking it that day while he was getting the dog groomed. And they said that they reprogrammed the computer and that it was fine. So, fast forward a few more times in intersections, it shut down. It wouldn't work. The four-ways wouldn't work. The brakes wouldn't work. So then we take it in again, and the dealership says, you know, leave it with us for a couple days. We'll have a look at it. So they were looking at it, and then they phoned us and said, we fixed it. It's all good. And they told us then that they replaced the battery. And so then we're like, okay, that doesn't sound like that's going to fix the problem, but okay, you know, as long as it works. So then, you know, we take it back and nothing has changed. It's still dying in intersections. And let me tell you that when it dies, it won't turn back on for about a half an hour. And you can't tow it, as we found out, because you can't even put it in neutral. So the only way you can tow it is if you drag the effing thing by a tow truck onto a flatbed. And, you know, that's gonna wreck your fucking tires and all that shit. And so every time it happens, you have to kind of like just wait it out for it to sort out its own little glitch, and then it'll suddenly start up again as if nothing had happened at all. We're quickly approaching summer, so we take it in to the dealership again. And at that point I was saying, listen, I want you to buy this car back because, like, this car is unsafe and, like, and it's untrustworthy. So the dealership told me that because, you know, we had just bought it not so long ago, that for 55 G's, the best deal that they could do was give us 30 grand for it as long as we bought another Ford vehicle and carried over negative equity to pay off the rest of this piece of shit. And I was like, no. Like, negative equity is not good to begin with, but, like, no, we're not doing that. So then I said to them, I'm like, Ford Canada needs to buy this car back. So then they're like, well, let me just, you know, let us just have another attempt at fixing it. And, you know, we think we can fix it, and all this stuff. And I mean, as a side note, all these problems is actually a very common Bronco recall on these Bronco Sports. And the dealership kept telling me that my VIN is not part of that recall and that, you know, it's not that problem and whatever. So, I mean, you know, whether it is or not, I don't know, and I don't really fucking care. So they had it for about 4 weeks in the summer and gave me a loaner Bronco, which was a piece in itself, but that's a story for another day. And so after 4 weeks or so, we go in to, because they call us, say it's ready, it's fixed. So then I was like, well, what did you do? And then they're like, well, we replace the battery. And I'm like, well, didn't you just do that? And I'm talking to the parts and service girl, and she looks back on the record and she's like, no, like when it was in here last, like nothing was done. And I'm like, cool, that's nice. So, I talked to Ford Canada, and they said that it's up to the dealership to buy it back. Obviously, Ford Canada will reimburse the dealership, so they won't be out money. But the dealership has to make the decision to buy it back. And of course, the dealership does not want to buy it back. So, moving forward, we don't really trust this car. We don't go very far with it. Every time I drive it, I think that it's going to shut down and a tractor trailer is going to take me out in a goddamn intersection, and it's going to be lights out for me. It is very terrifying that you can spend that kind of money on a brand new vehicle, and when I say brand new, it had literally, I think, 13 kilometers on it from test drives, and you know, so like it wasn't owned by anybody else, it was brand new off the lot. And you can spend that kind of money and nobody will fix the problems. If they would just honor it in the way of replacing the Bronco, or actually fixing it properly, or sending it to Ford Canada to fix it properly even, I'd be okay. And this is not a rant about, you know, you should hate on Ford and whatever, because I think this is a disclaimer for a lot of dealerships. It's not necessarily the brand, it's the dealership, I think. You know, I'm sure a lot of comments will be like, ooh, why'd you get a Ford? Well, you know what? Because I like Fords. Do I like them now? No, I don't. Will I get another Ford again? Absolutely not. And, you know, so this isn't about hating on Ford per se. Now, the other joyous thing about this car that I've recently discovered is that the cheap tires that they put on this car are crap. And, you know, I don't mean like, you know, they don't have a lot of grip and whatever. What I mean is, you can't trust them. So all 4 tires are losing air randomly. And no, we haven't run over anything or curb jumped anything. And then all 4 tires have wonderful little bulges in the side walls, the front wall, for all you non-car people. Bulges, which means, you know, the belt has slipped in the tire, and that, what that essentially means is that you could be driving along and have a goddamn blowout and possibly fucking die from it. Tomorrow, I am forking out $1,300 on new tires to replace these tires that only have 15,000 kilometers on them, because I can't trust these tires anymore, and I have to make sure I'm around or near a gas station every time I use this car, because it will randomly lose air, and also I'm worried about being on the highway and having a goddamn tire blowout. I will try to show you some of these bubbles. They're probably going to be hard to see on the camera, but I'm going to attempt. So it's really hard to see this on the camera, so my apologies. So right now, this tire, instead of it being a bulge, it's like an innie bulge, but it kind of goes back and forth. So this spot here, and so that's just an example of one. And there is a bulge here. Again, it's really hard to see, but you can feel them and you can see them in person. This tire loves to go flat the most. which is absolutely glorious. And like, I mean, just look at the shape of these tires, right? Like 15,000 kilometers, and like the whole like sidewalls like just look completely gone to shit. Not much tread, not that there was any tread to begin with. And there's a bulge here. I know this tire has another one. It's some, yeah, there's a bulge right here. Yeah. So all 4 tires have bulges, and on our truck, which is from the same dealership, we have to replace the tires too. I think there's only 20,000 kilometers on that truck, because they are bulging as well. They're a different kind, Pirelli, and these are Continentals, which are not generally a cheap tire brand. The saga continues. At this point, we've just like literally run out of energy and time. Like, you know how fucking hard it is to work and fucking try and get the dealership to actually do something instead of letting this car just fucking sit there on their lot, and, you know, try to fix a problem that they keep claiming can't be replicated. That's their favorite wording, is can't be replicated. And then, you know, there was one time that they said that they were able to make it, you know, stall out and not turn back on. But then another time they said that they could never replicate it. So I'm not hating on Ford, and I'm not really hating on the dealership. It's the people, I think. It's the point that, like, what do you do at this point? And maybe somebody can comment some suggestions here, because what can you do when you're tied up with so much goddamn money on something like this, and the dealership is in complete denial, and you know, Ford Canada is just hoping that, you know, the dealership's going to come through for us. And, you know, it's, we're just stuck. We're just stuck with it. And the only thing I can think of is that we just kind of limp it along for the next year or so and sell it, and, you know, hope we don't get another lemon again, which, you know, I don't trust anything new anymore after this experience. You know, I was really excited when I got this car, because I was like, this is cool, you know, like I kind of feel like, you know, that teenager in me that had, you know, the cool car. And I thought that, you know, like this was really good investment, because I've never spent that much money, 55G, on a car, just a car. And you know, beware of the dealership I've mentioned. And just beware in general. I mean, like, is there, like, I googled this. There is no actual lemon law in Ontario. There's things that are very much like the lemon law, but not quite the lemon law. And when I Google other situations similar to this, you know, the result is the main brand, such as Ford Canada, you know, buys the car back, and, you know, and everybody's happy, and they make their customers happy, and you know, and it's resolved. And this is not resolved. So I am starting a new job, and I'm gonna have to commute to it, and so that's why we chose to put new tires on it. I really didn't want to, because I just think, what's the point in putting money into it? But I also can't have a blowout on the highway. So, you know, I'm just really frustrated. And, like, what do you do without spending thousands of dollars on a lawyer, or, you know, all this different angles that I could probably go at? Who is out there to actually help people like us in this situation where, you know, you've spent a good amount of money on a car, and hoping that, you know, it's gonna be a worthwhile investment. And I just look at this, and every time I drive it, I think, I don't trust this. I don't feel safe in this. Is it gonna shut down on me? Am I gonna have a tire blowout on reasonably new tires? it freaks me out to drive it, but I have to drive it. And what do you do? Anyways, that is my rant about my car.